One man, one mission, to rid the world of chronic anxiety once and for all. The Anxiety Guy, Dennis Simsek, shares his personal transformation from living a life filled with overwhelming worry to becoming a full-fledged positivity machine, a leading authority in generalized anxiety. Dennis gets to the truth of your mental health challenges and sets you on a path to transforming each and every area of your life. Here he is, the one and only, the Anxiety Guy.
Hi everyone, and welcome to episode number 37 of the Anxiety Guy podcast. I'm Dennis Simsek, and I want to thank you so much for being a part of this podcast, for being a valued subscriber. Head over to Facebook and like the Anxiety Guy page there, because all our updates are going to be done through there. As well, if you are following this podcast, an episode will be coming out on every Monday, so be ready for those on Monday morning. And today we're talking about some of the reasons why people stay stuck in a cycle of anxiety, in a cycle of fear and worry. And I've been pondering these ideas for the last little while here. And instead of making a YouTube video on it, I decided, you know what? These podcast subscribers need to hear this message. They really do. And I truly feel, since I've been getting a ton of emails from you guys lately and questions and positive responses about the podcast, I really feel like everybody who's listening is moving forward in the right direction. I truly feel that. I feel like people are starting to question their thoughts a bit more. They're starting to question their behaviors a bit more. And you're starting to become aware of the fact that you have more options than just one. And your actual feelings are not, in fact, facts. And that's a very important idea there, that you don't interpret your feelings or your instincts as true facts. They are not true. They are your perception of the world. Everybody has different perceptions of the world. And I want to talk about the idea of feedback versus failure. And when I change my thinking patterns to, you know what, I'm not failing so much as I am gaining feedback as to what's working and what's not. And just the simple new perspective I had, guys, just kind of changed everything. It took so much pressure off of me to perform and to find solutions and to overcome this anxiety problem now with a magic wand that didn't exist, and I started looking at some of the, let's say, supplements I was taking, some of the methods I was partaking in as feedback. Is this part really working for me? Is this not working for me? And I started to understand that instead of looking at it as a failure, like, oh, that person, that mentor didn't help me at all, I started to go, you know what? There was some aspects where I really got tuned in, and it really helped me. That mentor really helped me in those ways. But there were some ways that I didn't agree with, and it was really difficult for me to put into action. And therefore, when I started to think this way, I started to progress. And remember that progress equals happiness. And when we see progress in those aspects of our lives, guys, we are getting to that goal that we want for ourselves. We're partaking in the path that we truly want to in our lives. And so this idea of feedback versus failure, to have a new mindset and to understand that you never fail, you are not a failure. Stop thinking that you are, and everything that you're doing in your life is basically feedback. And the one thing I truly want to preach on with you guys is this idea of looking at a supplement, looking at a method, looking at a technique. As a CBT practitioner myself, I see a lot of people go through the End the Anxiety program and they go, Dennis, you know what? It didn't work. It just didn't work for me. And you know what I say to them? I say, the program didn't fail. You failed. And the reason is that, and I'm not saying this in an aggressive, negative way, I'm saying that you haven't prepared yourself well enough to be able to gain the most from the program, or the most from a therapist, or the most from a supplement, whatever it may be. So preparing yourself, and we talked about that a lot in the last podcast episode, is huge. And many people sit back and they go, you know what? I'm partaking in this program, and it has to prove itself to me before I start to commit to it, right? And a lot of people have this approach to certain things, and then they wonder why their anxiety continues to overtake their lives. And that approach is a very dangerous and scary approach to take, because you'll never be satisfied. You'll never gain the path that you truly want for your life. And that's kind of a default path that people take, this default mindset where they go, you know what, I'm going to take this thing and I'm going to sit back and go, I'm going to study it. I'm going to kind of see if it's working or not. You have to be fully absorbed in what you're doing. You have to fully believe that what you're doing will work for you. And you have to believe that you can actually create the change you want in your life. Before you do those things, guys, nothing will work. No strategy will work. No technique, no cognitive therapy will work. Nothing will work for you until you've prepared your mind for change. And that is a huge aspect that we need to really take into our lives, and we need to take steps to prepare ourselves for change to happen. And people will always default, and this is another aspect that's huge and why people get stuck. People will always default to past memories and unconscious negative habits of thinking and acting, because conscious change takes effort. It takes time. It takes patience. It's too hard, and taking the easy way out, even though it doesn't support your true path. A lot of people go back and they go to their default ways, they go to their default patterns, and those default patterns have to do with going back to their memories. Instead of taking charge of your life, instead of standing guard at the doorway of your mind and consciously picking when those negative automatic thoughts appear, when to build some evidence around those negative thoughts to see how true they are, and how to start a new empowering positive thought in your life. Instead of taking these kind of processes, these kind of new improved patterns for your life, what a lot of people do is they default to past memory, and they go, well, this situation, what happened a couple years ago was XYZ. And because those experiences happen, they will always happen. So what starts to happen is our unconscious mind takes over and it runs the show for us. And if you let your unconscious mind run the show for you guys, guess what's going to happen? You will be stuck with anxiety for the rest of your life. What we need to do is consciously beware, consciously accept that what we have is related to anxiety. Okay, first things first, we need to accept that the symptoms we have, the thoughts that currently run our patterns, everything around what we're experiencing is related to anxiety. And we need to start putting in the effort. We need to start putting in the time. We need to start training ourselves to become more patient. And we need to stop looking at progress as being too hard. Consciously changing our thought patterns as being too hard. Changing our patterns, as uncomfortable as they may be for the time being, as being too difficult. We must train ourselves to look at this new way of thinking, this new way of behaving as a journey, guys. There is no finish line. That's something that I can tell you right now. As somebody that has dived into the deepest waters of health anxiety and almost taking my own life and being caught up in my thoughts and going, you know what, it's always going to be this way, and being fearful of every situation. From being that kind of person, I've been able to balance my life out. I've been able to take control of my mind, and if I can do it, you can do it. But it takes effort. It truly does. It takes time and it takes patience. So as somebody that's overcome their problems, I'm still developing myself. And the key to all that was to change my perspective from, when anxiety doesn't overtake my life anymore, I will be doing XYZ. And that kind of attitude is very, very dangerous, and keeps the cycle of fear going. And my suggestion for you guys is that you need to look at it as a progression. Day by day, building one brick on top of the other, even in the face of setbacks, is going to get you to where you want to go. And that is huge, because we start to take control of our mind, we start to take control of our lives, and we don't start defaulting to past memory and unconscious negative habits. We start to become conscious, and it takes effort. And that's what people don't want. A lot of people out there don't want to put in the effort. They don't want to put in the time. They want a magic wand. They want something that's going to change them right then and there, but it doesn't exist. And what they do is they turn to therapy. Therapy doesn't work for a couple weeks if they're lucky, and they say, you know what, therapy didn't work for me. Or they try a medication or a supplement and they go, well, yeah, it's not working for me. And this attitude of quick fixes is a main reason why you're stuck. It's huge. And I truly want you guys to truly take a few moments, download this episode, understand where you're coming from, understand what kind of patterns are running your anxious thinking, right? And running your behaviors right now. And I want you to understand that you're not broken. You're not broken. You're not broken. Anxiety is not an illness. Anxiety is not an illness. I hate it when people start calling anxiety a mental illness. It's a conditioning process is what it is. And you're basically just doing things consistently that are not in line with the direction you want to take in your life. Let's say that again. You're doing things consistently in your life right now that are not in line with the direction you want your life to go. Okay, so you want something, but you're not willing to partake in the temporary uncomfortable feelings that it will take to get to your destination. And understand that thinking is a deliberate act. Thinking is a deliberate act. We cannot let our unconscious mind, our subconscious mind take over our lives, because if we do, we will be in a world of reaction. We will react to situations based on our experiences. We will react to certain events based on our belief systems and our values that have been brought up through our experiences. And if we can just recondition ourselves to go, you know what? This situation, the evidence behind this belief, and this is huge right here, so tune in. The evidence behind this current belief that I have is so limited. It's based upon one certain experience that happened, maybe two, maybe five. But this evidence is not powerful enough to continue to overtake my belief system. Right? And you must look at the evidence behind some of the beliefs you have. I mean, is it truly supportive of where you want to go in your life? And how can you start to consciously replace some of those beliefs with a more empowering, evidence-based, new empowering belief? And this is huge, because what starts to happen is you start to go, you know what? I've been respecting this idea for way too long, and I don't see the evidence behind this idea. I fear the idea of flying at every moment. And a lot of people go through fear of flying. I know I did for years. And then I said, you know what? I looked at the statistics online, and yes, planes crash. But the amount of times planes crash compared to car crashes, guys, is not even close, right? Being on a plane is 10 times safer than being in a vehicle, and yet you still drive your vehicle. So that's just one example. There is an evidence-based facts that support a new supportive belief system that you can undertake. And you can go, you know what? These symptoms of anxiety that I experience on a daily basis, the thoughts that overtake me due to these symptoms, are they really supportive of where I want to go in my life? And where's the evidence that's backing it up? Well, I go to doctors and they say I'm okay. I've taken tests and they say I'm okay. I've done the MRIs, I've done the ECGs, I've done the blood tests, everything else came out okay. Well, the evidence to support this new empowering belief is way stronger than this what if thinking process I have in my mind right now. And those what if thoughts can simply start to turn from a monster into a fly if I only replace them with a new empowering belief. And this is powerful. When you start to do this, when you start to look at the evidence of what is currently running your belief system and start to look at the evidence of the potential powerful belief that you want to replace, it's huge. You start to go, wow, I really can take myself out of this cycle. And anything we do long enough consciously, guys, becomes a habit. We have choices. No one ever taught us, though, the differences. No one ever taught us the differences between, when we go to school. When we go to school, here's what happens. For all those years that we go to school, we take tests, we take exams, we present stuff in front of classes, and sometimes we fail at those things. And that's just a matter of perception. We fail. A lot of people look at it as failure. Some people look at it as a learning process, and that's just the way you've been programmed for yourself. But nobody teaches us in school to replace our thinking processes. Nobody teaches us. Teachers don't teach us that. What teachers do is they teach us that our memories are fuel for moving forward in our lives. So when something bad happens in our life, something that's debilitating, something that's catastrophizing in our life, what we do is we go back to past memories and we relive that same experience over and over again. And therefore we become scared to do the same situations we did before. And in CBT, as a practitioner myself, I do this with a lot of people. I reframe past experiences to fit the direction that these people want to go in their lives. And let me say that again. What I do as a CBT practitioner in my one-on-ones is I reframe past experiences to fit the direction that people want to go in their lives. So I said this quote before on my YouTube channel in some videos, and I believe it was Richard Bandler, the founder of NLP, which is a great way to help your anxiety. And he goes, it's never too late to have a beautiful childhood. And what does that mean? That means that the way we perceive our childhood is the way we will be expressing that to other people and expressing it to ourselves and expressing it to family members and such. But we have the ability to reframe our childhood, and I've said this before. My dad, who was very verbally abusive, I started to reframe that and see the positive intent to what he was trying to do. And I said, you know what? No, he's trying to do XYZ for me. He's trying to help me to become a better person. He's trying to help guide me in my life. But the only problem is he's doing it in a way that's unproductive. And he hasn't really looked at things in my point of view. So there I started to reframe my experiences with my dad. And all frames, guys, are equally true. You can frame something in your life and go, well, this is the way it was. Or you can reframe that and make it more beneficial for you. So framing is very important to see the positive in every situation. The positive intent in someone who hurt you in the past. What part of the experience are you holding on to? What part of the experience are you focusing on? Instead of denying and pushing it to a corner as to what happened to you in the past and internalizing the pain, how can you change it? How can you change it? How can you actually reframe those experiences, guys? So We've talked a little bit today about why people are stuck through anxiety, why people are stuck in fear and worry, and I want to be the first person to tell you that self-improvement is a journey. There's no finish line, guys. We're all living the life we've envisioned for ourselves, as good or as bad as that may be for you right now. It is true. You've conditioned yourself to be this way. Nothing is at fault but you. And I believe, by working with so many people around the world, I believe that the idea of getting your hopes up and getting disappointed again is a very dangerous way to look at life. Getting your hopes up and getting disappointed again. And there's a big difference between relying simply on hope and faith and having no action, and then having hope and faith and taking action and being consciously aware of our thought processes, our beliefs, and our emotional consequences due to some of those beliefs and values that we hold in our lives. And when we don't change, it's because of the things we refuse to do. When we don't change, it's because of the things we refuse to do. And I'm going to leave you guys with that powerful quote today. And if you have any questions, head over to anxietyexit.com. If you want to start the program, if you have health anxiety, if you're looking for a CBT-based way to overcome it, there's a menu item there that says My Program. Get started, overcome your fears, guys, restructure your thinking patterns. And if you have any questions, you can contact me through the Anxiety Guy website. I'll see you guys very soon. Have a wonderful day. And remember, you are more than anxiety. Love you guys. Have a wonderful day.